Welcome everyone to the next to the last session for our 2022 FoodTreX Research Summit. And I am pleased to introduce to you today Jamie Levitt, who will be talking about small-scale food tourism, the impact of informative signage along a farm's active transit routes. So Jamie, why don't you take it away?
Sure. Thank you for joining me. And if there are any questions, please feel free to ask away as we're going through the presentation this morning. Well, this morning here in California. So good morning. My name is Jamie Levitt, and I'm an assistant professor at Fresno State. Fresno State, if you don't know, is a public university located in California. We are right in the middle of the state. And so we are equally distant from both Los Angeles and San Francisco. Unfortunately, we're not on the ocean. We are a little bit more inland. But to tell you a little bit more about myself before I jump in with my study, so I am American, but actually grew up in Geneva, Switzerland. Went to university in Boston, and then following university, did not know what I wanted to do, and ended up living in both Ankara, Turkey, and Guangzhou. And it's these experiences that really brought me my passion of food and cuisine and pushed me in the direction that I am in today. So following my time in Guangzhou, I went to Johnson & Wales, which is a well-known culinary university here in the States, and then pursued a PhD at the University of South Carolina. And my teaching tends to focus on hospitality and food service. And then beyond that, most of my research is related to restaurants and to food tourism. So that's just a very quick overview of what I do. Right now, I teach at Fresno State. One thing that's interesting is, though, and related to this study and project, is that I am situated in our agricultural college. And so it means that rather than working with other chefs or other hotel managers or other theme park experts, I'm working with farmers, animal scientists, food engineers. And so it does give a little bit of a different landscape to the world around me, and helps to guide a lot of the studies that I'm doing at the moment. So again, the study that I'm working on right now, this is an ongoing project, relates to the development of signage at our university agricultural laboratory, our farm. And if we look at the extant literature, what it suggests is that signage in public spaces, think about zoos, parks, it really serves a crucial role in raising visitor awareness about a given topic. And then also it creates a greater connection or a greater satisfaction with a given space. Now, paralleling this, we see, and I'm sure everyone here is aware of this, that consumers in many parts of the world have a growing interest in food. And more specifically, here in California, what we've seen is that there are greater pushes to grow home gardens, grow your own foods, and then also have an increased awareness about the origins of your agriculture, and then also the origins of the cuisines that you're eating. People are diving deeper, and overall, there's just a greater desire for in-depth information in these topics. And what I believe is that the erecting of informative signage in a farm setting would be useful in really helping to address these desires and lead to a greater awareness of ag, food, and cuisine coming from a given space. But to date, what we're seeing is that there really isn't a base of literature to assess the efficacy of signage in a farm setting. So at this point, this represents a gap in the literature. And so I am positing the following research questions. So to what extent does the development of informative signage in a farm space increase visitors' perceptions of the given farm space? Two, to what extent does the development of informative signage in a farm setting increase visitors' knowledge of the foods being grown? And then lastly, to what extent does the development of informative signage in a farm setting increase visitors' intention to purchase the ingredients being promoted? Now, again, I just want to emphasize this is it's an ongoing research project. So we are in the process of executing this. But I want to tell you where we've gotten to and where we're heading. In terms of theoretical grounding, we're proposing the use of the Moravian-Russell model, also known as the SOR, or Stimulus Organism Response model. And the idea of Moravian-Russell is that you have a certain stimuli, it elicits a emotional response, which then leads to a behavior. In this case, we're proposing that the signage serves as a stimuli. Perceptions of the farm would serve as the organism variable, and then knowledge of ingredients and intention to purchase would be the response variables. So here at Fresno State, we have a 1,000-acre farm. It actually represents about 75% of the land area for the university. But at the same time, and even though we're in a fairly populated area, fairly urban, there's not a lot of information shared with the community or students or visitors as to what is being grown, what can be done with those ingredients, and what are the benefits of those ingredients. And as such, it serves as a very useful venue to test our proposed research questions. So what we've recently done is we've been able to gather traffic data from vehicles traveling in and around our university and around specifically the farm areas. And what it is telling us is that there are clearly areas of our farm and areas of the university that are more highly trafficked, including in certain directions. And we've used this as one tool to guide us as to where to put our signage to be the most effective. And I should mention what we've considered doing is having signage that would be visible both to vehicles and then also to pedestrians, because we have high volumes of both. And if we drill down, if you look at our points on the map here, these are the specific proposed areas where we are going to install signage. And to drill down even further, you can see these are the specific areas. And so what we're really looking to do is to create areas where there's a lot of visibility, a lot of traffic. And then the other part of that, which I think is fairly clear here, is to make sure that we're not interfering with the operations on the farm, which was a very specific recommendation and request from the farm manager at the university. And you can see here, this is an area where we have vineyard grapes that are growing grapes for wine production. Fresno State is actually the first university in the United States to have a commercial winery on campus. And so we grow a large quantity of wine grapes. And then ultimately, we've designed our signage in a way of addressing the research questions that I put forward in the introduction. So a few things were quite important with the development of the signage. We want to make sure that there are interesting facts related to both the state of California and our university. We want to make sure that it's clear to individuals who are viewing the signage that they are able to purchase the crops that are being grown, and that they can purchase them specifically at our market located on campus. And then lastly, we've worked to develop recipes that can be accessed by individuals relating to the ingredients that are being grown. So not only can they acquire the ingredients at their market, but they can then prepare dishes with them. And so what we're doing right now is we're actually collecting recipes from students and then also from alumni of our programs in order to offer some different recipe suggestions for individuals who scan the QR code on the sign. From here, we're going to be conducting surveys with passersby. And the idea is to survey them on those variables related to the Moravian-Russell model, including the stimulus, organism, and response variables. As you can see here, we've laid out the origins of those items and where they'll be adapted from. And then from there, we're going to conduct analysis through SPSS and SmartPLS. SmartPLS is a tool to assess path modeling and is quite a useful tool in looking at something like the Moravian-Russell model, where we have one variable leading into another, leading into another. So overall, what we're really hoping to see from this is if this is the plan is that this serves as a roadmap for other farms and other universities for erecting informative signage. And the idea is that this is something that ultimately is not extremely expensive, but allows for visitors and members of the community to have a greater connection with the space and to have greater interaction with an area that otherwise is rather opaque to them in many cases, and where it's unclear what's being prepared, what's being grown, and why it's being grown, and what the benefit is to them. We also see the mutual benefit of visitors to the marketplace being able to acquire fresh ingredients that they may not have otherwise considered. And then, of course, it increases sales for the given farm. Now, we've also started looking at future research. And one of the areas where we've also seen a gap is there remains this incongruity between what customers are seeking out. And as I mentioned, there clearly is this growing demand among customers for greater knowledge in food and cuisine and ingredients. But on the supply side, coming from farmers and agricultural workers, there's still this lack of understanding or a lack of desire to interact with these customers, to share information, to be more accessible. And we could even say even the development of informative signage or ways to interact with these customers is often seen as a liability if people are coming into their farm space, a hassle, an added expense. And ultimately, a lot of these agricultural workers at this point just don't really seem to have this understanding that customers really want more and they're interested in what's being grown. And so something that might be perceived as mundane on the supply side is quite interesting to customers on the demand side. So this is an area, these differences in perceptions, that has not been investigated as well. And that is where we're heading as we wrap up the current project. And you can see here's one of the research questions we've started to develop. To what extent do farmers and customers have different perceptions of things to eat, things to see, and things to do? So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Like me, I'm sure that you have a very strong passion for food and cuisine, food tourism, and I welcome any questions or input that you have.
Thank you very much, Jamie. As you think about your questions for Jamie, would you please write them into the chat? And one thing that I thought of as you were speaking was how important this is as part of the overall customer journey. And I think that many times, so you're looking at it from a very practical perspective. You're looking at it from the business perspective as well. You know, why are we doing this? What's the impact on the community? But from a visitor's perspective, this is one of those very small details that can have such an important and lasting impact on people's satisfaction. And when we talk about customer journey, there's the pre-trip, the on-trip, and the post-trip. And this is an important part of the on-trip experience. You know, if I can't find your farm, your tasting room, your restaurant, this tour starting point, whatever it is, if I can't find it, then I'm going to be mad. And that then starts a whole domino effect of other things that happen after that. So signage is absolutely essential. And also keeping signage current, updated, is an important part.
Which is a great point. It's actually one of the reasons that we've looked to go with a QR code for a recipe. So it allows us to continue to grow and develop the database of recipes that we have to share.
That's a great idea. That's really good. I'd like to hear that. And I hope that other destinations around the world can learn from what you're doing, or other researchers maybe can do more with this and then bring the message to the other destinations, because I can't tell you how many places I've been. I'm sure you've been as well. You're well traveled, where you're driving down a road and it's just kind of, you know, unless you know somebody, or you stop at the gas station, or you stop at the last restaurant you ate, or you stop literally someone standing on the road in another language and saying, you know, donde está kind of thing, you're just not ever going to find it. You know, it's over the hill and you take this dirt road and you don't want to go on the dirt road and you're not sure, but then you go and then the dirt road becomes a normal road. And it's just, there's all these questioning things that, you know, oh my gosh, if I drive the rental car on that on the gravel road, am I going to avoid the insurance? I mean, businesses don't even think about this stuff. And, you know, and this is what's going through the travelers' minds.
Right. Well, and I think there's that opacity, the opacity for a lot of locations, as you said, if there's not information to guide them in the right direction.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, a lot of times it doesn't take a large investment to overcome some of these challenges.
So from your perspective, how will the sign look? You're using QR codes, which I think is good. That can be kept updated online and you're not putting permanent information on a sign. But how do you envision the sign would look or function for a visitor?
So I think I'm answering your question, but let me know if there's any follow-ups. So what we're going to do, and what we've determined at our university, this is the path of least resistance. We're going to print these on canvas. And so this will be a sign that will be able to withstand the weather, but is also not something that is extremely heavy duty. And it sort of balances out this issues relating to cost And we had some other logistical hurdles about putting in things that were more heavy duty. Uh, and it's also something that was affordable and can be replaced if we need to. And in terms of size, what we're looking to do is something that's going to be somewhere in the area of 4 feet by 8 feet. So just to sort of approximate that out, we're saying what, probably 120 centimeters by 240 centimeters.
Okay, thank you for translating that.
Sure. And so something that'll be fairly large. It's something that cars would be able to see and read. It'll be large enough for them. And for most of these signs, we're going to have them at intersections. So fortunately, the drivers aren't going to need to drive and scan QR codes at the same time.
Driving, right? That's
yeah. And then these are, and I guess I should clarify. We have active walking routes around the farm, and so these will also be on areas that are used quite frequently by pedestrians.
Okay, interesting. And have you thought about working with tourist guides in the capacity of having these signage on within the farms? Is that going to add value to tourist guides, or is it going to put them out of a business?
So that's a good question, and I think again this is going to sort of indirectly answer your question. So we do give a lot of farm tours. It tends to be in the context of being at an academic institution, for at least for this case study, as it were. And so we are working with the individuals who give tours at the farm to use these as part of the way to communicate what's being grown and where the ingredients can be purchased. And I think the other part of what we'll do is to include this as part of the recruitment effort for visitors who are coming to the university, so that individuals who are coming to our university for the first time can have a clearer idea of the types of unique ingredients that are being prepared.
Okay. All right, good.
So I know that sort of indirectly answers your question.
Yeah, well, because I know that we have a a tour interpreter. He just signed off there, but he is someone who does kind of really in-depth tourist guide information. So he'll do the interpretive guiding of an area. He'll go into the history. It'll talk about, like, I'm just thinking, the AP tourism in Slovenia, right? And the whole importance of bees to the agricultural economy, to the visitor economy, and so on. All of the different bee products that are created, not just from a food perspective, but also a personal care or wellness perspective. And he'll go into the whole thing. He'll talk about the history of beekeeping in Slovenia. I mean, really quite in depth. But if there's a sign up there, a QR code with a sign that says, visit this apiary, 20 meters or 20 kilometers. Okay. How's that gonna dovetail into the tourist guide industry? Does it help what they're doing, or does it hinder what they're doing?
I think it does help to provide context. And I think the other thing is, at least in our specific situation, one of the things we're trying to do is to use our retail space, our market, as sort of an end location. And so for someone who is providing tour services, we can see that they would be able to bring groups to that final destination and then provide them with the specific products that are being grown in the farm space.
So it really boils down to how and where the signs are used as to how they might impact the professional services of someone like a tourist guide.
I think that's a reasonable way to describe it.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think what you're really trying to do is to enhance the visitor experience. You're not going about trying to replace the tourist guide. You're just saying, hey, here's some additional information, or now that you're in our store, here, go on.
Well, and I think that's a great point. What we find here in the middle of California, we are not the tourist destination that you would have at the national parks or in the famous cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, or San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what we see is that this creates value from a tourist perspective where it didn't previously exist, or it existed in very little, small amounts. It adds context and it adds guidance where an area would otherwise be nondescript.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Adding a crutch to the other infrastructure that's already there, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, I think that's good. And I think for many more rural or agricultural areas, this might actually really be a good solution for them. Well, if there's no other questions for Jamie, Jamie, I'd like to thank you for sharing this interesting topic with us. Really good to see you again. And
Always.
thank you. And we'll see everyone else in the next session in just 4 minutes. Thank you again, Jamie.
Thank you. I'm on to my 8 a.m. lecture here. So time
Okay.
to learn about imperial and metric measurements.
Oh, exciting.
Very, very.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks a lot.